human form, and I used it. It's actually from an what do you call it? A shiatsu or whatever, because it has a lot of points on it. And I'll tell you more about it in a second. Just right now is I'll fill in for a minute where it all comes from. But right now is that our souls have gone at every point. Well, I need to fill in first. Yeah, it's better. There's a Gemara that appears in 5 places in the Talmud. And it says, En ben David ba, ad sheyichlu kol neshamot shebeguf. Ben David, the Mashiach ben David will not come until all the souls have been born in bodies. It doesn't say that, but it means that. There's a secondary meaning that's in the exact way that the phrase is stated that I will go into. I think I will go into it. I want to. But the main understanding of it is that the Mashiach won't come until all the souls are born. Which, of course, is why we hold that abortion is, unless it'll be a danger. We're not Catholic, because if there is a danger, physically or psychologically, then it's okay. But generally speaking, if not, then we don't want to stop a birth, because the birth is bringing Mashiach closer. And this is actually the beginning of Even HaEzer. The Shulchan Aruch is divided into 4 parts, or a Chaim and Choshen Mishpat and Yoredea and Even HaEzer. Even HaEzer, whatever it means, is the helping stone, but I don't know. They think it's something from the Tanakh, from the book of Shmuel. But it's all about marriage and everything you do with relationships of man and wife. Probably a lot more. Anyway, that begins there with the Gemara, which says that to take a life is to lima'et et hadimut, is to limit or to diminish God's presence in the world. Like a human being is created in God's image, so and this is really, really Torah compared to the Torah or the teaching of the contra force that's on the planet right now, which is a death teaching, which is full of death. So our teaching is that you actually diminish the presence of God. And on the positive side, that when you have children, you bring more God into the world. It's a beautiful way of looking at it. Every little child is God. Is a gift of Hashem. So the Gemara says until all the souls are born. And the expression in the Gemara is Ad sheyichlu kol haneshamot shebeguf. So the meaning of that, literally, even though I said it means until they're born in a body, but it really says all the souls in the body, referring to a heavenly treasury of bodies, Rashi says, an otsar neshamot, a heavenly treasury of bodies. It's called guf, it's called body, because those souls that are in it are destined to become born in bodies. That's one reason why it's called body. Another reason is because it's a hierarchical structure, that the first souls that are born come from the head of that body, and then from the neck of the body, and from the torso of the body, and from the solar plexus of the body, and from the bowels of the body, and from the circumcision of the body, and then the legs all the way down, and we're in the feet now. So there's 2 or 3 phases that I have to go through this. Short phases. Please bear with me just for a moment. The first phase again is to explain the expression. Until all the souls in the body are terminated, are finished. So Rashi says that the body refers to a treasury of souls. Again, because they will have to be born in bodies, maybe that's why it's called body. Another reason being that the higher souls come at the beginning, and then whenever a soul goes up after having lived a lifetime, we go before the Beit Din Shel Ma'ala, we go before the heavenly tribunal, and we stand there, and sometimes it could happen that the judgment is you have to be born again. And there's Hasidic stories about, no, anything else, let me go to hell. It's too dangerous down there, I might lose it completely. And they say, okay, fine. And two angels walk him towards hell, and it gets like 500 miles away, and it's already getting, wow, it's really hot. It's all just story form, but it's just in order to give you an idea. And all of a sudden, the guy starts regretting it, and before you know it, he's born as a baby. Because I mean, Shemaim knew that he's going to change his mind. So they already had the place where he's going to go. The best way is to say, Shemaim, whatever you want, Hashem. And sometimes the answer is, we got to break you up into 5-6 pieces. Because every part of you, that you need a little bit of this, you need a little bit of that. Now you're all going to be you. And then it might even be that in another lifetime, after all of them have been born, each one of them has to be. So there's going to be a limit, but it actually can bifurcate to hundreds of sparks of your own soul. We're talking about the higher back up you go, the farther back up in history you go, there were greater souls. And then when they came up to heaven and they were told, parts of you have to go down. Only the parts, this is the principle, only the parts that needed fixing, that lacked, that were deficient, came down. The good parts stayed up. That's why every generation is called Yeridat Dorot. We get like a little bit less normal. And so we don't have like what we had in those generations. We have other things, but if you have to admit, there's no Moshe Rabbeinu's around, right? There's no Avram and Sarah's. So only the part of us that needs fixing comes down. But there is a way that when we're down here, the Zohar says, that we can mizoche, that we can work to bring down some of the stuff we left upstairs. That's the inyan of neshama yetera, of an extra neshama on Shabbos, which means not somebody else's neshama. I don't know if we want that. Not in any weird sense. We want the higher parts of our own neshama, or of the higher neshamas with whom we are connected, because it goes above the personal, into the transpersonal, into the collective, that we're part of soul groups, and every soul group is a part of a soul group above it, which includes all those soul groups, and it goes up and up until we're all included in one great soul. I'll go over that if you want, because it's really important. The whole reason I'm here, maybe. It's really so very, very beautiful. It's a bifurcating system, so the farther down we go, the more of us there are. There's somewhere between 6 and 7 billion right now. Never been so many people born at the same time. Aryeh Kaplan said in 1983, when there was 5.5 billion people, he said he made one of his quick calculations. And if you look in the introduction to the book Marriage Made in Heaven, you can see a little example of a calculation that he makes. It's so sweet. So he says, that's about the number of people who have ever lived. How do you know that? So in every 10 years, every decade, there's a National Geographic 10-year
popular
10-year edition, and they have a population figures. And the truth is, back in 1840, according to them, there were 1 billion people. That doesn't make sense it's hard to make sense. I don't know how right they are, but I think that's what he was basing his thing on, maybe. And therefore the geometric progression since 1840 is such. Now there's problems with Chazal where they say that there were millions of people and this and that, and back then so I don't know if they're talking al pi pshat or drush. We don't know, but just make it simple. That certainly there's more people now than there ever were at the same time. That's my point. So that's very important that we get to pull down when we're down here, because we aren't allowed to come down with more than the minimum of who we are. And that's also a broken piece of me, because the other parts of me are all over, and then who knows if I'm going to meet them in this lifetime, and when I'm going to meet them, that are the parts of me. But whatever the case, we can pull down and connect to our higher soul root and start to fill in and become whole. That idea for me is very fascinating. I've worked with it, and I really try, and it's not a one-day idea. Our job is to have what's called a vertical connection, to have a connection to our higher levels of our own soul, and to ask Hashem that we can embody more and more of who we are, because we are sparks of great souls. We don't even know who we are. Okay, so that was one idea, so that even though on one level, the souls come from a lower level of that body upstairs for every generation, and we are on the feet. On the other hand, right, that's one way, that's the first comb through, you're combing the hair. That we are different souls, but the question of, well, why there are more of us every time? It's because there's a bifurcation. That every time the neshama goes up after living a lifetime, and then they split into a number of souls, a number of bodies, and go down again. And then come up again, and they go down again. And so there's more and more each time. And only the lower parts come down. So we explain somehow, in a simplistic way, to the degree that I'm able to articulate these ideas, that would explain somewhat of why all of us have been brought back all together in this period that we live in right now, called the Ikvata de Mashiach, the Ikvot Mashiach, the footsteps of the Mashiach. Ma yafu, ma navur ragle mebaser al heharim. How beautiful are the feet of the herald of Eliyahu Navi, the feet on the mountains, and various different other references in the Tanakh to feet. And even that real interesting things, from 4, 5, 6, 7 different things come to mind. It will take me off the center to even go into the mind. And all of this is a preface to the Purim story, but I felt it was important. So,
1 billion people are Yidden, or 1 billion people in the world?
6 billion people, a little more than 6 billion people now, of world population. Yeah. We constitute, what is it, 0.01%? I don't remember. Okay, so what do we need more from this? So, the Baal Shem says, whose is this? See if it went off. The writing disappeared, so I'll wait a second. So we were going to read the Baal Shem Tov. All right? He says in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, our generations now are the level called the heels, right? So we try to understand that we at least have an image in our heads that we're from the lowest part of that body upstairs. Hem mishunim midorot rishonim. These generations now, are different than the previous generations. Ki bedorot rishonim haya kol ahad makir bechinato ba'abodato. Everyone in the old generations, this is what he says, they knew who they were. Asher nishamot shehem mebechinat bria היו מובדלים בבחינתם הבדל גמור מנשמות הנמשכים מבחינת יצירה, ונשמות שהיו מבחינת בריאה הם היו רבנן ותלמידיהון. So the Bria, we have 4 worlds called Asiya, Yetzira, Bria, and Atzilut. Whatever they mean, it's definitely not just one higher than the other. The Bria level is the context within which Yetzira and Asiya. The Atzilut level is the context